been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank. When it take a swim, only option is to win. In the murky water, not a thought of giving in. Welcome to the shrimp tank. Want to put it all together, this is big thanks. Doing big things, we ain't in the same league. Running a campaign, Roadie 2016. Like a phone to die, putting me in charge. I'm a general, from the front I'ma lead the charge. Like a federal, fell on my lap never. Going hard as ever.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode here on the Shrimp Tank, powered by Celsius Beverage. This is the first podcast in the world where we have an entire class of Florida Atlantic University students that sit in live, ask questions, and each and every week they come up with a game show. And that game show, you see it right here on air. Me, Kevin, Walter, and a student will participate in the show. And this week we are doing Family Feud, I am told. So I am excited. And of course, you catch all these amazing episodes up on our website, shrimptankpodcast.com. And of course, catch us on social media at Shrimp Tank Boca. I'm joined each and every week by the director of the Adams Center for Entrepreneurship. He is doing some unique things out there. So Kevin, why don't you say a couple words?
That's right. Welcome back to the show. Yeah, it's an exciting time. The Runway Accelerators moving back to the College of Business. We're excited to enter a whole bunch of new startup companies, very promising ventures. Our alumni are also performing very well. So it's a real exciting time as we kind of move into the mid part of the year. But as you said, we got a fantastic guest today, Walter Bond, former NBA
important
player.
Before we even get in, it's like if you are out there and want to join Kevin on his mission to impact society down here in South Florida, cut him a check, right? They need money for the Adams Center and the FU Tech Runway. And so often I know everyone I meet says, how do I get involved? And they don't know the route. Right. And there's a lot of donors out there that want to participate that have made literally hundreds of millions of dollars sitting in Boca Raton. And I think they got to reach out to you, Kevin.
Yeah, right now is a good time. We are looking for new partnerships and sponsors, and we have a bunch of new plans coming down the pipe. So more on that a little bit later. But let's get to our guests. So Walter, we kick the show off the same way every single week. All of these students, we try to teach them how to do a good elevator pitch, and I'm hoping you can deliver a fantastic elevator pitch in 60 seconds. Former NBA player, coach, speaker, you've done all kinds of stuff. Hit them with your elevator pitch, 60 seconds.
Well, I'm a peak performance guru. My wife and I founded a company 25 years ago, and we teach organizations how to become peak performers through mindset and skill set. And one thing I learned on my way to the NBA was how to become elite, and I didn't understand at the time that it directly applies to business. When I left sports and got into business, our business grew pretty fast. And everyone was like, how'd you grow so fast? And I was like, what? What do you mean? Well, what's your secret? And I thought to myself, I don't have a secret. There's no secrets. There's no mysteries. If you're going to be elite, you have to have an elite mindset and an elite skill set.
All right. As simple
Was that
as
60
that.
seconds?
Yeah. Perfect.
Nailed that.
You nailed it. Well, let's see if he's going to bring some elite performance to this game show, Jason. What do you think?
I don't know. I'm pretty good at Family Feud. We'll see. I watch it with my family all the time. So come on down. The host of the show. Let's do it.
Hello, my name is Brendan, and this week we'll be doing Family Feud. And so I'll ask a question, and whoever buzzes in first gets to guess first. And I'll press the big X if you get it wrong.
Oh, I like this. He's bringing the big X into the show.
Here we go.
I like this X. It's perfect for Family Feud.
All right. First question is, name something everyone says they're good at during a job interview, even if it's a lie. You can go.
Communication.
No.
Oh, I like this.
Being on time.
No.
All right.
That's what I was going to say. Let's see if the student can get this kid. Nico,
jumping
let's
in?
go. Can you steal? Can he
time
steal?
management. I was gonna say that as well.
Time management. I guess multitask. It's close enough. We'll give you that point.
Okay.
All right.
Are we allowed to steal on this show?
Yeah.
Well, there are
Well,
more.
if you get it wrong,
Family
yeah,
Feud. We got
there's
one.
more questions.
This is
Okay.
multitasking / whatever.
What was the
Okay.
number one?
Number one was computers, like computer skills.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Number
everyone says I'm
two.
perfect at that.
Number two was people skills. 3 was punctuality. 4 was multitasking, and 5 was organization.
people skills. You kind of got it. Well, communication. So that's
Okay,
kind of
hold on.
I
Time
think,
out.
I think
Time
Walter
out.
I didn't
might
even make the list,
Walter
man.
might have won that one.
Wait.
I shot an air ball. I didn't even make the
Time
list,
out,
man.
though. He said punctuality, and I said being on time.
No.
Not the same?
Sorry.
No.
Can I get a definition on
Give him the buzzer.
punctuality?
Give him the buzzer.
Yeah.
You got the buzzer. Sorry, Kev.
All right. Instead of getting a job, name something a person might do after college.
Work. No, that's not good. I was gonna say.
Steal.
Yeah, I flew it.
Travel.
Yes, that's the first answer.
Boom.
Good job, Kevin. There you go. You're back up on the board.
There's more answers.
Yeah, there's more answers. There's 5 total answers.
But I think you can't.
Launch a company.
No.
God
Actually,
damn.
no.
Become an influencer.
Isn't that kind of a job though?
No. Yeah.
Because they're still making money. That's where I paused, of course.
Go to grad school.
Yeah, go back to school. Number 3.
All right. On fire.
Stay at home child.
Yeah, go back home.
Yeah.
There you
I
go.
see that all over the
Every
internet.
parent.
I was
Can't
going to
beat
say do
that.
nothing, but I didn't want
Can't beat that. Stay at home child.
What did we miss?
I didn't want to give
you
anybody
missed-
any ideas out there
You
today.
missed get married and party.
Oh, I can we
Party.
missed
I like the party one.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Travel and party. It's kind of in
Okay.
traveling though.
Close
Okay.
enough. All right, next question. What would make you nervous at work?
A pink slip. They give out pink slips.
No,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
means
that-
you're getting fired.
Oh, getting fired?
Layoffs. Is that on there?
No, it's not on here.
Oh, man. I struck out. I'm done.
Come on, Kev. What makes you nervous? You come to work every day.
I
A meeting with your boss.
got a joke I'm going to leave off the
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah. I have a feeling that's rated R.
A meeting with your boss.
Yup. First
Oh,
first
there
answer.
There you
you go,
go.
Walter. There you go.
Any other guesses?
Just the people around you, right? Certain individuals really freak you out, of course.
Merger and acquisition.
I'll get more specific on Jason's new supervisor.
Yeah.
New supervisor.
Private equity company buying you out.
I got an answer.
Yep.
Merger and acquisition.
That
No.
should be on there.
Nope, not on
That's
here.
This
major
one's hard.
layoffs after that.
Yep.
Relocation.
Relocation. Nope.
No, relocation.
Well, actually,
company says
applying
you have
applying
to-
for a new job.
Okay,
I feel like that's close.
we did pretty well there.
COVID.
Yeah.
The other answers were an unhappy or angry client,
Yeah, of course. That makes sense.
and then presentation.
Mm. All right.
Presentation makes sense. Okay.
What is
I'll buy
a
that.
quality that makes you a bad boss?
Not taking accountability.
Irresponsible. Yeah.
Not listening to your employees' feedback.
Yeah. Yep, that's on here.
This is my last chance. Negativity.
Negativity. Yeah, angry. That's close.
Lazy.
Lazy. No, not on here.
Being hungover too much.
Nope.
No.
Actually, irresponsible.
Living in New York City,
It's
I see that
also-
all the
that's
time.
in
by
the
certain
category of
leaders.
irresponsible, but
Yeah.
okay. A reason you might go home early from work.
Nico.
Not feeling well.
Yep, sick. First answer.
I was gonna say a party after work, happy hour.
Holiday. No, it's
Come
not.
on, Walter. You've ditched work because an event that you wanted to attend, of course.
Mm.
Who hasn't?
I remember ditching class, but I work for myself, so I don't try to ditch work. too
Yeah,
much.
it's hard. Well, back in the NBA days.
Yeah.
And the other answers were emergency and quit.
No
And
child
All
sick.
right, there
I
you
was gonna say
go.
Child sick. I'm glad I didn't say that.
Who's the winner? Who won?
Yeah. Who won?
Walter is the winner of the show, Family Feud.
You never miss a shot you don't
Yeah,
take.
good at
I
basketball.
answered
and
like 10
family.
times.
Shrimp,
Yeah.
shrimp feud. Shrimp feud.
You might have had a rough go if this
I
was
shot
a
about
Jeopardy
20%
where
from
you
the field,
lose
but
the points, you know.
Shooters
but
don't stop
solid.
shooting, baby.
Thank you.
That is true. Thank you.
Thank
Great
you. That was
Yeah,
fun.
great
man.
show.
Tell Steve Harvey I said hi.
He's a future contestant on the show, of course. Okay, so Walter, students want to learn what it's like to run and operate a business, right? Many people enter the MBA and then they really struggle afterwards running and operating a business, right? You talked about people skills during Family Feud over there, right? So tell us that transition, what it was like to run your own business and some of the difficulties you went through, of course.
To be perfectly honest, I was lost for a couple of years. To play in NBA, you have to completely commit yourself to the sport. And by the time I was 30, 31, basketball was over and I had no other skill set. I didn't even know what other skill sets I had. Luckily, my wife was a corporate lady and she had a job in sales and she worked for Dr. Pepper. She worked in pharmaceutical sales and she went and got a job and got some benefits. And I sat at home and tried to figure out what is my gift. And so if I can give any encouragement to anyone here, if you want to prosper and be very successful in business, you have to first discover your gift. I discovered I could run my mouth. And once I discovered I could run my mouth, I began to do homework on the motivational speaking business. I found out it's a very lucrative business. And it's about right now like a $13 billion industry. My wife, with her sales background, and I launched in 2001, very humbly out of a spare bedroom. And we started speaking at high schools. Next thing I knew, we were at Chamber of Commerce's. Then we are at associations. And now we go all over the world doing events. My largest audience has been 25,000. So to answer your question, honestly, the one thing I learned about launching a business, it needs to be built around your gift. The biggest mistake you can make is start a business just because you think you can make money. It should be around your gift and your passion. Because if it's not around your gift or your passion, you're going to get burnt out. You're going to get lethargic. It's going to be hard to stay motivated. I got a chance to play pro basketball until I was 30, 31. I got on my knees and prayed to the Lord, what can I do with the rest of my life I love as much as playing basketball? I had no clue what that was. Just someone handed me a microphone. And I realized that God gave me two gifts. I can hoop and I can run my mouth. And now I'm a Hall of Fame motivational speaker. And it's all based around a gift. At a young age, I was one of the best athletes in my neighborhood. At 10 years old, I was bigger than everyone, stronger than everyone, faster than everyone, smarter than everyone. There's an IQ that goes with sports. And so when I got into the business world, I was just really seeking, what is my gift in business? And I learned that my gift is now in business is teaching people how to become peak performers.
Kevin, talk to this from, a professor's standpoint, because we hear a lot about passion and going after things, but sometimes, students don't have any money in the early days, right? So what they want to do
that can be part of it.
is really difficult. So I just want to hear your perspective to this.
Yeah, I mean, I got a couple different empirical kind of database points on that. That'll be less exciting for the students and the listeners. And I'm glad, Walter pointed out though, a gift and a skill set. That's the most important thing, in my opinion. It's very easy to become passionate about something that you have a natural inclination to, something that you're already naturally good at, and you can get better and better and better, and then have a competitive advantage against others or other entities or other businesses. I do oftentimes advise and coach students away from purely passion kind of interest, right? Those careers and those job opportunities that are associated with passion so many times have more supply than they do demand. So that drives down income and it drives down cost. But again, that's just talking passion. So if we talk about you want to be an artist, you want to be a performer, you want to be an actor, even fitness, right? Fitness is very popular among this generation. Like, look at the wages, look at the opportunities. It's somewhat limited because so many people want to be a part of the industry. Whereas if you can find something you're really good at and then learn to grow and build that passion, it might be more unique and less kind of overwhelmed with people that want to get into that area. So I caution against passion, and I encourage people to get passionate about what they're good at. And I think that's an easy path forward, is to say, I'm really good at this. Typically, you'll also enjoy it. I mean, who doesn't like winning, right, Walter?
Yeah.
So that can be an avenue where you can capitalize on both those entities. And of course, Walter did say both, not just, hey, I'm passionate about this. Nobody wants to hear me talk. I'm terrible at it, but I love it. Like, that wouldn't work so well. So I think matching those two things up is inherently important.
And to your point, there's a lot of people who love basketball but can't play. Right? So
Yeah.
it's not enough to have passion. You do have to have a skill set that goes with your passion. And typically, if you do have a skill set, that's going to bring the passion because you're good at it and you're going to get results. And so just speaking was the beginning for me. And now I know I'm passionate about selling. I love to sell. I learned how to sell. I'm passionate about helping leaders learn how to lead. I'm passionate about helping teams become better. And all of it really centers around peak performance. I'm really passionate around helping people become the best version of themselves. When I played in the NBA, I wasn't Michael Jordan. And I became the best Walter Bond I could be. What did that mean? I played 3 years in the NBA. Most of it was coming off a bench, but I knew I reached my potential. And I didn't have the arms that Michael Jordan had. I didn't have the big hands. I couldn't jump like him. I couldn't run like him. I didn't have the physical gifts that he had, but his potential is Michael Jordan. My potential was 3 years in the NBA bouncing around. So we both reached our potential. And for anyone out there listening, as soon as you discover your gift, there's going to be a passion that goes with it. And your job is not to become the next Bill Gates or the next Mark Zuckerberg. Your passion should become the best version of you. And whatever that is, you know what? It might be an app that 100,000 people use. And that's awesome because you just helped 100,000 people. For some of you in this room, you might have a gift at that level. I'm a Hall of Fame motivational speaker. So I didn't have that gift in basketball. But as soon as I studied motivational speaking, I was like, wait a minute. I can do what they can do. So I saw Tony Robbins, Harvey McKay, Zig Ziglar, Les Brown, all the best motivational speakers. I grabbed my wife and I was like, babe, I cannot do what Magic Johnson can do, but I can do what these dudes can do. And now I'm a Hall of Fame speaker.
Can we touch on this? Because there's a big saturation of people who want to become public speakers. And people jump in and immediately want to get paid. I see this all the time. People exit from the shrimp tank, they sell their business, and they're like, I'm going to go out and share my story. And they completely fail. It's really hard to get paid to speak on stages. So can you just explain kind of like what is like the amount people get paid to even speak? Could we peel back the onion a little bit, like the ranges, and then what is the trick to actually getting on these stages to get paid versus having to do them for free, and kind of share how many you had to do for free before getting paid? Because I know most people that I, interview tell me they did hundreds of free events before they got their first paid opportunity. And there's a skill to this, and you're running a business.
Spot on. The fact that I came out of sports really helped me. Yeah. It took me 15 years to get to the NBA, right? Literally 15 years from the time I was 8 or 9 until I was 23. You're talking about a 15-year commitment until you become a pro. So when I got into the training and development space, thankfully I had a teammate. My wife could really help me. In basketball, she was a little limited, but in our business, she can get on that phone. She made sales calls. She did marketing kits, and we worked it together, but we knew it was a runway. And our first year, I think we made 30 grand. Our second year, we made 90. And after that second year, we started making 6 figures and never looked back. And so we understood runway. We understood getting better. But to your point, my first fee was what you got.
Yeah.
We didn't come out the gate, very aggressive. We didn't have a big ego. We were aggressive. Let me take that back. We didn't come out with a big ego. And we would do free events, low paid event, because we understood if I can become really, really good on that platform, the money is there. No different than basketball. If I can become really, really good in basketball, if I become one of the best basketball players in the world, the NBA's there and the money's there. So I don't have to worry about the money. And so I believe all industries are lucrative. So whatever industry you want to get in that's built around your talent, your gift, and your ability, understand it's lucrative. Your focus should be becoming the best in the world at what you do, or at least becoming the best version of you and just carving out a piece of the pie in that industry. My business is a $13 billion industry. And my wife and I have made millions in the industry. And all we did was really launch our tent and went in there and cut out a small little slither of that pie. And but we get better every year, though, guys. To this day, we have what we call the off season. We look at it just like we do in sports. In sports, you get a time to work in your business. You get a chance to work on your business. In the off season, you work on your business. In the beginning, that was a great opportunity for us because I didn't know anything about business. And we started getting some traction. We started learning a little bit. And we started taking what we call off seasons. Because I had to get from the bottom, like, okay, what is marketing? Okay, what is brand building?
And traveling.
Okay, what is a niche?
Get exhausting.
I knew nothing about business. And so I started from scratch.
How many, public stages do you get on each year? So we kind of have an idea.
It depends. It ebbs and flows. Our best year, I think we did 80. And now we do a lot of coaching and teaching. Now we look at the keynote differently. Okay. It used to be the primary revenue source. Now it's the commercial. right? So in 60 minutes, I can't change your life, but I can give you some ideas. I can give you some concepts. I can give you some theories that will work. And so last week, 2 weeks ago, I was with Prudential and all their leaders, and I gave them some ideas and some concepts on how they can increase productivity amongst their financial advisors. And guess what? They had a follow-up meeting scheduled to next week, because I taught them in financial services. I always go to these top events for top producers. It's Diamonds Club, President's Club, Elite Club. I was an average NBA ball player. And so I'm kind of offended. Okay, I go and I meet all your superstars. Where are your average financial advisors? Where are your average agents? And what do you do for them? And so I challenge Aflac. I challenge Prudential and say, man, what is your strategy to really boost the performance of your average agents? And they looked at me dumbfounded. And so we just closed the largest contract we've ever closed in the history of our company with Aflac. We're going to do their national sales training because they couldn't answer a question. What are you doing with your average agents? I played in the NBA with Carmelo and John Stockton. You guys might be too young to know who they are. These are two of the best players to ever play their positions. My coach, Jerry Sloan, his legacy is not based on Carmelo and John Stockton. He chose right. He drafted right. His legacy is me. He took 10 other average players, put them around Stockton and Malone, and we go to the Western Conference Final, right? So the average producer is how we got into training and development, especially in financial services.
I like that because I am a financial advisor. I am registered. And of course, I have the app Owl. That's my baby right now, my startup, my passion project, of course, to grow it to millions of users, to make a large impact. But often they only focus on the first 10, 20% because that's the group making all the money, of course. So they rather double down on that percentage, and they've done it for 30, 40 years, and they're used to not changing their ways, as simple as that. And I could tell you the number one reason why the 80% fail is really simple. It's not that they're not good at their skill. It's that they are bad marketers, right? They don't know how to get enough meetings into their schedule. And if they had meetings in their schedule, then they would do fine. That's why you see successful advisors, sometimes they go from Prudential, they're failing, but then they go work at a bank and they're a superstar, right? So a lot of the things that you're teaching can get them meetings in their schedule. You're doing it yourself. You landed Prudential because of the ways you market with your family and sell them. So I think there's a huge open market for that group because you just got to get them to change their mindset.
Yeah, I'm really glad you painted a great picture here too, because I did a little bit of preliminary. The old professor guy got into the books before the show today because I wanted to learn a little bit more and maybe have some tough questions for Walter, but he did a great job sketching out. So what I was looking into was like, what is really actually the impacts and the outcome associated with motivational speaking? And you hit the nail on the head. You can teach people a few concepts, you can do things, but when we look into the literature for empirical evidence, there's not really any outcome. It can be entertaining. I love some of those guys you mentioned.
Yeah.
They're fantastic. And I think you can glean some insights, but then when we dig into it scientifically, nothing. But that's why I'm so glad you mentioned, well, it's really more of a commercial these days, because then you back in with like, this was fun, gave you some ideas, but you do coaching, you do advising, you do trainings, where when we look in the empirical evidence on those things, the impacts are substantial in terms of performance outcomes. Whereas bringing a large corporation to see somebody talk, the performance outcomes are negligible. Even though corporations spend millions of dollars doing it, nothing happens. But if they follow it up with training, advising, coaching, and those supplementary things that do have a performance impact, directly quantified, empirically validated, I think you're going right in the right direction.
Let me give you one example that's happened to us in the last 8 years. Our largest client, you guys eat there all the time, is Jersey Mike's Subs.
I love that place.
They just sold for $8 billion. And here's what happened. I hosted a show on the Food Network. Don't even ask me how I got that gig. But Jersey Mike's came on the Food Network, one of our episodes, and I got to befriend the founder, a guy named Peter Cancro. He hired me to speak at his national conference. I was a keynote speaker. And at the end of my keynote, in front of 3,000 people, I got a standing ovation. And I said, man, let's go kick Subway's butt. Let's go kick Subway's butt. And so after the meeting, I sat down with Peter Cancro and I asked him a simple question. I said, how do you think McDonald's became McDonald's? McDonald's is the most powerful franchise in the world. They do about $187 billion a year. And he looked at me and says, oh, I'm not sure. I said, well, McDonald's built Hamburger University. Hamburger University is the reason why McDonald's is the largest franchise in the world. McDonald's is a training and development organization masquerading as a burger joint. Procter & Gamble went down to mimic Hamburger University. Because of that, Procter & Gamble has produced more CEOs than any other company in America. Walmart went down there, mimicked Hamburger University, and so did Target. So all these companies went down to Hamburger University and figured out, wait a minute, they built the most powerful franchise in the world. No offense with C students. What would happen if we turned into a training and development company similar to McDonald's, but we're getting kids from Brown, Wharton Business School, FAU, give yourself a round of applause.
Yeah.
And if we can get better talent, but also turn it into a training and development company, what could that mean for us? Now, these are blue chip companies every single way you look. And so I sat down with Peter Cancro, the founder. I said, man, let me help you turn Jersey Mike's into a training and development organization masquerading as a sub shop. Right now, today, Jersey Mike's is kicking Subway's butt. The average Jersey Mike's does about 1.3.
I won't go into Subway anymore. Me and my wife just said yesterday, like, when is the last time we've been to Subway? It's like 7-8 years. Where back in the day, like, all of us would swing by Subway. And nowadays, it's like, not even a question. Like, it is going to be Jersey Mike's. My kids absolutely love it. And there's a major difference in the quality. And now Subway's jacking up the price where we're like, who's paying for this? And I agree.
We've been there for 8 years.
And I'm going to add one thing. The famous quote is like, A students are managed by B students and C students own the company.
Peter Cancro didn't even go to college, right?
Yeah.
But the moral of the story is your most valuable asset of any company are your people.
Yep.
And if I could teach just a little bit, and we make a big deal about sports and the transfer portal. People say, I hate the transfer portal.
That's going to be my next question before we get to some student questions.
Let me take this from sports to business. The reason why an athlete goes into the transfer portal, because they're not convinced I can reach my potential here. So since I can't reach my potential here, I got to leave. But employees have been going into the transfer portal for as long as we've been working. Yeah. As soon as an employee leaves the company, what do? They go into the transfer portal. Right? I don't like this financial service company, so I'm going to that one. Yep. I don't like this technology company, so I'm going to this one. So we make a big deal about sports and the transfer portal. When every employee leaves a company, goes to the next one, in my mind, they got into the transfer portal and left. Moral of the story, the reason why Jersey Mike's has been successful is because we are so focused on training and development. The employees are looking around and saying, man, I don't need to leave. Why? Because I can reach my potential right here. So for those of you in this room that are entrepreneurs, trust me when I say this. Discover your gift, build a company around your gift, and turn your company into a training and development organization. Every employee that comes in, teach them how to lead. Every employee that comes in, teach them how to sell. Every employee that comes in, teach them how to communicate. Every employee who comes in, teach them your core values and make sure your core values govern the culture. If you can do those simple, basic things, you can take a company that has an average product and make an elite, because every product in the marketplace is very comparative. But what makes the difference are your people. So Jersey Mike's has onions and tomatoes just like Subway. But what they did with their people is special. What McDonald's did with their people is special. That's why my wife and I are committed to getting in front of companies, and we let them know, like, look, if you let us have your people, trust me, whoever you compete with in your industry, we're going to kick their butt, because we're going to change your culture into a training and development organization masquerading in your core business. Newsflash, I don't want to get too deep here, but I flunked out my first high school. And now I'm a thought leader. I never started on my college basketball team, and I played 8 years of pro ball. What was the key? I was always involved in training and development, cultures and organizations, and I became the best version of me. And so that's why my wife and I are so passionate around peak performance, because for the most part, in a lot of areas, you could take an average performer and work on their mindset, work on their skill set, and you could take an average performer and transform them into something special.
Yeah. And we see that with a lot of corporations. And for any corporations out there that resonates with, but you may not want to build that up internally, we have executive education right here at FAU, where we're working with some great companies that truly believe in the value of building up their employees, right? So Next Year Energy, FPL, Hewlett, JM Families, they all leverage executive education right here at FAU to take those engineers, those others, and really teach them business, and then the business of their business. So we're very much involved in that too, but as an external partner for some of these corporations who need specialty skill development in the areas of business management and leadership. And we're always looking for more corporations who understand the value of keeping their people, right?
Because and TBC.
Yeah.
TBC has been our client, and they're right up there in Palm
Absolutely.
Beach County.
And hiring's a pain in the butt. I mean, I've done it. It's getting harder
And
than ever.
expensive.
Indeed is expensive. University students use Handshake for internships, and employers don't enjoy the whole recruiting process. And it's difficult out there. It's a lot easier to maintain your current staff and have them happy because it's rough out there.
And to me, Jason, here's the difference. The average leader says, I'm going to hire someone, and when they show up, I just hope they got it.
Yeah.
Right? The elite leaders say, I'm going to hire someone, but once they get inside of my culture, I'm going to teach them and train them, and I'm going to improve them. So if you look at Tom Brady, right, for our sports fans, he was a 6th-round pick.
Yep.
Bill Belichick and his culture at the time, I don't know what happened to Bill Belichick. We can talk about that later. But at the time, he took a 6th-round pick, brought him into his culture, a kid who did not even start full-time in college, and helped him transform into the GOAT, right? So to me, that's the metaphor for companies. Go out and hire the most talented person you can hire, but that's not, your work is just getting started. That's not the finished product. Because if you become a culture of training and development, and you put that person in your garden and cultivate them, eventually they're going to become the best version of themselves. And that's where companies drop the ball. They want to hire people and just, hey, man, let's show me what you got. You got 90 days. And if you don't show me what you got in 90 days, you're done. Instead of saying, you know what, let me get you in my culture.
Human.
And let me cultivate you until you become the best version of you.
All right, let's take some questions.
Okay, this next segment is brought to you by Owl, where you get to ask an entrepreneur question live. So come on up to the microphone, any FU student that wants to come up and ask Walter a question, or myself or Kevin, go for it. Okay, we got a couple coming down. My trick is just the little touches. Right? I treat my squad to coffee, like Starbucks, food, because those little touches mean the world to a lot of people.
What's going on? My name is Mateus. I wanted to ask you, I've heard this a lot. They say entrepreneurs, they say fail early and fail fast. So how did you fail early or fail fast, and how did that propel you?
Well, Mateus, my wife and I will let you know our first business failed. We bought a franchise. We spent every dime we had from basketball, and we lost everything. Had to file bankruptcy. The good news is we learned a lot. And I tell my wife, she didn't like when I say this. I say the best lessons in life are the ones you pay for. We learned a mistake that we did it just to make money, and we didn't love the business. We weren't passionate around the business. So when I talk about loving and being passionate around the business, that's because we made a mistake and lost everything. The good news is we learned so much about franchising that when we started our speaking business, we niched in franchising. And that's why when I got in front of Jersey Mike's, they're like, how do you know so much about franchising? Because I'm a former franchisee. So we got all that money back and more. But we learned a valuable lesson early on. Never get into a business strictly just to make money. It's got to be around a passion or some problem you want to solve. And it's got to be built around your gift.
I have one more question. LeBron or James?
LeBron or Jordan?
Or Jordan. Okay.
You know what? That is a whole debate, whole conversation. My peer group would be mad at me if I said this.
Okay.
I'm going to answer it this way. Every great player is always connected to a great coach. Michael Jordan, Phil Jackson, Magic Johnson, Pat Riley. LeBron James is the only player who's not connected to a great coach. I think some of the reasons for that is his own undoing. But if you go to a computer and created a basketball player in a software, it's LeBron.
Okay.
Right. So that's the way I want to answer that question.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Good answer.
I like that.
Hi, I'm Brandon. You mentioned that companies should invest more time and effort into training and development of their employees. And I'm just wondering why you think a lot of companies don't make that effort.
Because they don't understand the value. All of our clients, that bring us on, they get it. So Allen Iverson made a funny statement years ago, and everyone laughed at him. He said, man, practice. We're talking about practice. I'm Allen Iverson, and we're up here talking about practice. And people laughed. But the average sales rep for financial service companies has never been taught how to sell.
Yes.
It's never reinforced. So to me, if I had an NBA team or NFL team and you went to the fans and said, man, we never practice, they fire that coach in a heartbeat. But you can go to a financial service leader and say, are your people learning how to sell? No, he should be fired. So to me, we're recruiting people in financial services who don't have a sales background, don't know anything about building business, and they spend millions of dollars recruiting these people, and about 90% wash out. I'm like, this is insanity. right? And so to me, training and development should be a part of the budget all the time, all for every culture. And all of our clients who buy into our commercial, they always hire us, and we do big deals because the keynote is the commercial. We share them with how we help people with their mindset and their skill set. They hear my personal story. I flunked out my first high school, right? And I'm a thought leader. I did not start in college, but now I play in the NBA. It's all because I was always in cultures that were built around training and development. And that's why my wife and I are so passionate around peak performance, because training and development is the key to any organization's success.
Thank you.
Some of it's
Appreciate it.
purely economic as well, right? It's one of those things that's a little bit more opaque, not necessarily opaque, but there's a lag. There's a timeline. Spreadsheets, profit and loss statements are very static, right? The number of employees you have is this amount of costs and you have this amount of profit. And it's like, well, what if we spent this? Well, then 6, 9, 18 months from now, imagine what kind of sales you could do. It's like, well, we just want to look at the right here, right now. And that person's not performing well, let's hire a new person, because that's something you can do instantaneously rather than having the patience and the foresight to be like, well, this is an investment. We're going to take a little bit of a loss early, develop this person, and then have a major gain for the next 20, 30 years if you can keep an employee that long. But it's not always that obvious, especially with the corporate environment we have now, that's oftentimes faced with the short-term gains as opposed to kind of long-term strategic initiatives.
Well, that's why disruption is so powerful. My wife and I are disrupting in industries. When I said in front of Jersey Mike's, we're going to kick Subway's butt, a lot of people laughed, right? I met the COO of Subway. He heard me speak at a conference, and he came up and shook my hand, and he says, Walter, I'm the COO of Subway. And I was on the stage talking about how Jersey Mike's kicking their butt. And I got a little nervous. He said, you know what? You're right. You're right. And so to me, for example, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the second all-time leading scorer in the history of the NBA. He perfected the hook shot. No one has ever mimicked the hook shot, which I find just, wait a minute, the second all-time leading scorer in the history of the NBA perfected the hook shot. Nobody's mimicking the hook shot. McDonald's built McDonald's based on Hamburger University. Nobody in franchising is going to mimic Hamburger University. Jersey Mike's, let's do it. Jersey Mike's just sold for $8 billion. So right now, I'm like, look, if you don't want to invest in training and development, you're not smart as a business leader. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your name is. I don't care how much money you got. A smart business leader is going to recruit, develop, and retain top talent. Recruit, develop, and retain top talent. My college basketball coach produced 7 NBA ball players, and none of us were like All-Americans out of high school. So I've seen that happen in business, and I've seen it happen in sports. The key to anyone's success in business, you have to create a culture of training and development, because nothing else matters. You got to recruit top talent and develop the top talent, because if they believe I can reach my potential here, I stay. If I don't believe I can reach my potential here, I leave. So you spend all this money on Indeed, you spend all this money recruiting, and all the leaders are saying, man, I can't find good help. Man, I need, man, you don't find good help. You go develop good help. You go build good help. You go and nurture good help. And that's what Jersey Mike's has done. That's what McDonald's has done. And that's why my wife and I are on a mission, helping companies defeat the competition, go right to the top of the food chain, because everyone is thinking, well, I just got to hire some good help. That's a part of the equation. But developing that help is the key to your success. My parents were teachers, right? So I came from that kind of environment. My wife comes from entrepreneurs. So you put that together, we have an awesome team, because now we know how to make money, and I know how to teach, I know how to inspire, I know how to motivate, because I'm the C student I'm talking about. And if I can do it, I'm convinced that any C student in this room can become a multimillionaire. People looked at me, man, when I was a freshman in college, they put me in these classes with all the athletes. I had a great time. I called my daddy, and I had a 3.2 GPA and no credits. My dad was a high school principal. My father said, what? He was like, son, you got to go check in on that. He knew what was going on. Yeah. I go to my academic counselor. I said, how do I have a 3.2 and no credits? Well, Walter, those were college level courses. I'm like, why was I in there? Like, what the heck? They saw me as this dumb jock from Chicago, and we're going to put our urban. Dude, my parents are educators. My parents are teachers. I'm not that dude, and I got pissed. Yeah. I got angry. And let me tell you something. I started competing in the classroom. I literally went to the classroom just like it was game day. I was like, you're not smarter than me. I don't care if you got French tip fingernails. I don't care if you have highlights in your hair. I don't care if you're a valedictorian. You are not smarter than me. And I began to compete in the classroom the same way I did on the basketball court. Because my father, high school principal, when I flunked out, he said, you are just as smart as your brother and sister. For 2 years, my brother and sister were good students. And I'm just going to be the dumb jock of the family. You are just as smart as your brother and sister. You are just as smart as your brother and sister. For 2 years, my high school principal, also my dad, worked on my mindset. And he convinced me I am just as smart as my brother and sister. And they were great students. So when I get into any ballroom, I don't care who's in that ballroom, I am just as smart as you. If you're a millionaire, multi-billionaire, take out some notes. I'm about to teach you right now how to create a peak performance culture, peak performance environment. And if you want me to do it, write me a big old fat check. And that's how we're going to roll. I got excited. I'm sorry.
Kevin, write this man a check. Let's raise the bar at FAU Adams Center in the Tech Runway, of course.
Hi, I'm Tyler. So throughout your career in the NBA and motivational speaking, what has been the worst advice you've ever received?
Well,
Oh,
I
wow.
like that. I like that. There's a lot of bad advice out there.
The worst
I could
advice.
go on and on this one.
One of my teammates encouraged me to hold out on a contract. He didn't tell me to, but he encouraged me to. And at the time, I didn't understand the NBA. I didn't understand the economics of the NBA. When you're not a superstar, these owners are trying to manage the salary cap. And I was trying to get as much money as possible. And I didn't understand the economics of it. So I held out as a fringe guy sitting at the end of the bench. And they loved me in my salary slot. And so my ego got involved. This guy was a superstar. And he basically was like, go get your money, man. This is some BS. Go get your money. I didn't understand that they loved me at my price point. And I got out of pocket and I ended up getting cut. So probably the worst advice I ever got. And I don't blame him because I kind of wanted to do it. It was an extra little nudge. And I was just a young ball player. I didn't understand salary cap. If I can go back in time, I would have had a longer career because I averaged like 8 points a game off the bench because I didn't start in college. So I knew how to come off the bench well. And we went to the Western Conference Final. And I didn't understand the economics of the NBA. I could have had a 10-year career if I would have been happy accepting that, you know what, this is where you fit in the NBA. And all these teams love you at this price point. Now, if you start jacking up the salary cap and being more expensive, we're not going to love you the same way. And so I didn't understand, and that was some bad advice for me.
Hey, I think that's a great point and applicable for particularly students and everybody, especially in this class. So this is an entrepreneurship class. And we know by and large, students 18, 22 years old, they're actually not going to start businesses. So we emphasize and teach entrepreneurship. We give them the support. A few of them do, and we support them, and it's great. But by and large, most of them aren't going to, right? One of the things we teach in our entrepreneurship class is about understanding a business model, every facet of it. And that can be beneficial for any student just as a consumer, the companies you're engaging with. Maybe you're leveraging some services that you think are free. Those are not free. They have a business model, right? It may be your data, it may be advertising, whatever it may be. So understanding business models both as a consumer, but also as an employee. What is the organization you work for's business model and how do their financials work, right? Given your role, your position, what drives revenue, what drives expenses, because that can give you insights into like what might qualify you for a raise or which track you may want to take on the corporate hierarchy and different things. But understanding the business model for the companies you interact with and certainly the companies you work for. And that's exactly like your example. Had you understood the full business model, it would have been like, oh, I am kind of a steal right here. Everybody's thrilled. They love me. Up here, I'm kind of a pain. I'm still the same player though. How do I go from being the man to like, oh, that's kind of a painful check to write?
Yeah.
And understanding the full business model, just, I mean, it gives you benefits across the board, I think, as a consumer, employee, whatever.
Yeah, you know, there's some wisdom in a backup NFL quarterback who accepts. I'm a backup NFL quarterback. They could play in the NFL 12 years if they accept.
That's a sweet job. Everybody loves you.
But if your ego is like, I'm a starter. You can shorten your career just because you don't understand your niche. And so you see in the NBA, you can be a backup point guard for a long time. But if your ego says, no, man, forget that, I'm a starter. You know, if your skill set doesn't match that, if your skill set doesn't match your ego, there it is. You know, you get yourself upside down real quick.
Okay, our final question of the day.
Final question, man. This is
From
fun. I'm
him.
just getting warmed up. Let's
Class,
go.
Class got to get out of here at 150.
How are you? My name is Franco, and you talked a lot about finding your skill set, finding yourself, finding your true values and everything. That transformation from playing ball in the NBA to the business that you're running at right now. I just want to know how did you find that skill set, and how did you find those values and morals from that transition? Not only once you found it, what patterns did you use to apply that to your everyday life and to be where you are right now?
Two things. When I was a little boy, I told you my parents were teachers. My older brother's a preacher. So I've always had that gift of gab in the family. And so I would go to church when I was 13 and I would hear the pastor. My pastor was very dynamic. He was funny. He was entertaining. He would teach. And I would say to myself, I could do that. But nah, I like girls too much. Right? I could do that, man. I like drinking too much. And if I'm going to do it, I'm going to be legit. So I always knew I had this gift to speak and entertain and perform. And it was an internal conversation I never shared with anybody else. So when I got done playing college basketball, my college basketball coach was like, man, you should be a motivational speaker. I'm like, huh? I didn't even know there was an industry. He's like, son, you should be a motivational speaker. So 10 years later, when my career was over, we had no money coming in. And I was scared to death. And I was like, man, what should I do, babe? What should I do? And my coach thought I should be a motivational speaker. And all of a sudden, that little boy who would go to church and hear the pastor say I could do that, I started studying motivational speakers. I asked around, who are the best motivational speakers in the world? Because there's a ball player who made it to the NBA. Oh, I got an elite mindset. And so I got all the motivational speakers. I watched game film. And literally, I was like, I can do what they can do. So as a little boy, I kind of knew it. My college basketball coach reinforced it. And so when I began to really focus in on motivational speaking, it was like, man, heavens opened up. It was like the light came on. And within 3 years, we doubled our NBA income. Within 10 years, I was a Hall of Fame motivational speaker. I'm more gifted in training and development and motivation than I was as a basketball player. And so I'm just thankful that God used basketball to teach me how to be elite. And now my purpose is teaching others how to become elite.
Right. So you use your past to kind of like mold everything that you learned from the past into what you are right now.
Oh, absolutely, man. Who I am today is a combination of my whole life. Mm-hmm. I live in a country club right here in Boca. We got 6 billionaires in my neighborhood. When I transferred to my dad's high school in the hood, I'm the only kid who pays for lunch. And I'm talking about hood. I'm talking about ghetto. So my first high school is where Michelle Obama went. It's called Whitney Young. It's a top academic school. These are the smartest kids in Chicago. I got my lunch handed to me at that high school. I go to my father's school in the hood. I'm the principal's son, and they assumed I was a great student. I walked in there with a 2.1, but I'm the best basketball player on the squad. Nobody realized that I was there getting myself together. They all assumed that I'm the principal's son and I'm a spoiled kid from the South Side. They had no clue. So you cannot always assume you know somebody's story. You can always assume you know somebody's background. But that C student I talk about is me. And so when I go to companies and I see leaders complain about their workforce, I'm like, man, you got all kind of meat on this bone, but you're not utilizing it because you're not a good coach. You're not a good leader. And I challenge them just like that. But the good news, we have a leadership training called From Boss to Coach. My whole life I got coached. My high school principal was a coach. My college basketball coach was a great coach. I played for Jerry Sloan, great coaches. So when I get into the leadership environments, I'm like, man, let's turn this company into a training and development program. And let's turn all your leaders into coaches, because a coach's job is to recruit right, to develop right, and to retain right. You guys had good basketball here the last couple of years. Not this year, but no. Oh, I went to the Final Four, right? That last coach, Dusty, was amazing. No disrespect to the current staff. But what he did at FIU will let you know, man, anything's possible if you have the right culture, and if you recruit right, if you develop right. And let me tell you something. He taught his players, if you come to FAU, you can reach your potential here. And they bought into him, and he sold them on it, and he delivered. So a great coach is going to recruit, they're going to develop, they're going to retain top talent. That goes for sports. It also goes for business.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, Kevin, why don't you share with us what's happening at FAU before we wrap up today's show?
Oh, all kinds of exciting things. We have the exchange program every second Tuesday of the month where we talk in depth about all types of different business topics. This month coming up, we have a special session on HR, right? Not necessarily development, but more making sure you don't break some of those pesky federal guidelines and laws and rules. This is for startups who are hiring their first employee. So Make sure you do that right. Have the right agreements in place and hire the people the right way. Then mold them and train them and develop them. After that, the Entrepreneurship Bootcamp starts first week of August, Wednesday night, free for all students and very affordable for staff, faculty, and the broader community down here in South Florida. Keep up to date with us at the Adams Center and the Runway. There's always exciting events and opportunities, and we'll see you next week.
Yes. And Walter, they want to reach out to you. What are the best outlets? Is it Instagram? Is it LinkedIn? Is it email?
Here's what I want to do. You guys see me kind of decked out in my shark mindset gear.
I should have bought you a shrimp hat.
Well, you know what? Sharks eat shrimp, so careful. My whole thing is mindset, right? And so I know what happened when I had people around me helping me with my mindset. So we have a whole methodology that helps people with their mindset. And trust me when I say this, the only way you become the best version of you is by having an elite mindset, but also developing an elite skill set. So what I would like to do, if you guys are willing, I have a QR code on my phone. I want you guys to touch my phone, and I want you to do a shark identity quiz. It's going to give you some mystery into how you're wired, and it's very important for you to understand how you're wired. And here's why. I'm what you call a Mako shark. I see something, I go for it. I go for it fast. And that's how I'm wired. My wife is more like a great white. She can rally people. She's more a community person. And together, I'm a Mako, and she's a great white. But sharks swim together. They're called shivers. And let me tell you something. On my way to the NBA, I had really good shivers. I hung out with Tim Hardaway, Nick Anderson, Kendall Gill, Juwan Howard. We all grew up together in Chicago. We were all future NBA ball players. We supported each other. We helped each other with our mindset and our skill set. When I left sports, my wife said, look, we're going to get you at a country club. I'm like, what? No, we need to get you in a country club. What is a brother like me going to do in a country girl club? You tripping. That's what I said to her. She said, Walter, you played in the NBA. You hung around Stockton, Malone, Pippen, and you became one of the best basketball players in the world. I got to get you around business people. And I was like, that makes sense. I joined the country club in Minneapolis. And let me tell you something. It changed my life because I got around successful business people. And for me, it was just a different locker room. In basketball, I was around elite basketball players. When I got to the country club, I got around elite business guys. And now I can talk like they talk. I can walk like they walk. I think like they think. Now I make what they make. Final thought, and I'm out. And I want you to get this QR code. I spoke at a drug rehab down in Homestead. Anybody ever been to Homestead? Man, I drove 2 hours to go down there because for me, it ain't about money. I saw some people hurting on drugs. They have faith. Let me go down and inspire them for free. When I got done, the guy says to me, he said, Walter, my guys love baseball. They want to go to a Marlins game. Do you know anyone who works for the Marlins? Honestly, I was like, nah, I don't know anybody who works for the Marlins. I hung up the phone. I like, well, Bon, you are tripping, bro.
You know the owner.
The owner of the Marlins is my neighbor.
I had a feeling.
To give you some context
I know he lives in that area.
On how much God has blessed us. And I was almost embarrassed to call my boy back because I didn't want him to think I was showing off or, showboat. And I said, actually, I do know someone who works for the Marlins. He all right, cool, who? Somebody in communications or someone? I was like, no, the owner of the Marlins is my neighbor, Bruce Sherman. He just laughed. He like, well, man, I tell people, you know everybody. I know the owner of the Marlins. So just to give you some idea on the rooms I've been able to get into after flunking out my first high school. So when I talk to a leader about turning the company into a training and development environment, I mean it. When I talk about your mindset and your skill set, it ain't lip service. We've helped people become millionaires. We've helped people become the best version of themselves. We helped Jersey Mike's, the founder, became a billionaire. I can show you a video. He'll tell you out his own mouth. Me and Walter Bonner connected at the hip. And let me tell you something, man. He's like a brother from another mother. Peter Cancro, the founder of Jersey Mike's. Because 8 years ago, I said, let's turn Jersey Mike's into a training and development company. He has changed my life financially. I've changed his life financially. And so together, we've done something special. And that's what it's all about. So Shark Mindset is our brand where we help you how to become the best version of you. On the way out, come get this QR code. Take our Shark Identity Quiz.
As well.
What's that?
Sounds like distribute that out.
Yeah, we're gonna get.
Well, look, I'm from Chicago, baby.
This show ended 5 minutes ago, Walter. All right, the show.
I'm from the city, baby. We can do it all fancy. Or we
coming back with the CEO of Jersey Mike's as well as the owner of the Marlins.
Oh.
But here's the deal: everybody here has to do his survey where he's not going to do it. So everybody here, make sure after the show, come over
The
to Walter.
show's already over.
Show ended. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next Wednesday.